Welcome to USA Global TV and Radio, where our mission is to provide education, entertainment, hope, and inspiration. USA Global TV and Radio connects you with experts and audiences all around the world every single day to help you succeed in business and to live a richer life. Visit us at usaglobaltv.com to learn about career and life-changing training and mentoring programs like the Listening Mentor. Subscribe to our newsletter to stay informed about our special programs and offers. Discover how you can become a guest on one of our shows or a host or producer of a USA Global TV and Radio show of your very own. That's USA Global TV and Radio, where the doctor is always in.
Hey, it's Robert J. Moore, Next Level.
13 years ago, my parents started an experiment.
To break out of society's norm, to go against the grain.
And to find our own American dream.
We quit our corporate jobs and we sold all of our possessions.
And started traveling the world with our 1-year-old daughter.
Did we win the big jackpot?
Complete opposite. We lost everything financially in the 07-08 real estate bubble.
And like many others, we had to find a way to get our minds in a space of joy and abundance again.
And to raise a child in a world that wasn't based on what you owned, what you drove, or where you lived, but who you were as a human being.
Over the last 11 years, we've lived in over 48 countries.
And have shown our daughter cultures, history, and how to build a business through experience and not a textbook.
Because of this worldly education, I borrowed $20 when I was 9 years old to buy fabric, threads, and needles, and turned it into a 6-figure, socially conscious, and eco-friendly fashion brand. At the age of 11, I turned down a $30 million venture capital deal because it wasn't aligned with my values.
All right, I'm Robert J. Moore, Next Level Coaching, and once again, welcome to the podcast interview. I got a good friend of mine here that we've known each other for a while, and we've communicated quite a few times over different things, and especially marketing, especially the PR work, the deep inside stuff that you guys don't know what about. You guys always keep coming to me, and I always find the information out. Well, this is one of the guys I go to. Brian Swan, how you doing, brother?
Well, I'm doing fantastic. It's 7:37 a.m. in Bali, 7:30 p.m. your time. So this is the future.
Waiting for the waves, everybody. Waiting for the waves today.
Yes. No, I'm excited. I can see the waves, and we're supposed to be having some big swells this afternoon. So anywhere between like the 10 to 18 foot range, I'll be out battling the waves out here.
I sat there and saw a picture. You guys had a picture of the three of us with the boards, and your wife had like the biggest board. You know what I mean? Yep. And you had a smaller one. What's the difference in those boards?
So you have it with the big boards. Usually the long boards are kind of for beginners. It's the best way to start out, more foam stability so you can get on. And then when you start progressing, then you can get down to the short boards, more maneuverable, get into barreling waves, more trickier waves. But it's my daughter, she's 17. She's like an old school. So she loves the longboard. She's an old soul. So she always rides the longboard as well.
Not like the big one that your wife had that time. That was huge.
That's the big one.
You would think she'd have a smaller one, considering she's been with you for a long time. That's how you guys met, didn't you?
Well, I met Rhonda back in 1998, so 26 years ago. And I met her surfing. Literally, she's from Detroit. I'm from Chicago. And we met surfing in the waters of San Diego back in 98. Like, she paddled out. I met her right there in the water. And for the first 10 years of our life while we're living in San Diego, that was always like, she was in the corporate world. I was a robotic engineer working in the semiconductor, life sciences, biotech companies. And for the first, like almost 10 years before she got started online, we were both in the corporate world and we surfed. And while we're living in San Diego, my wife, she had she had a moment to where she went into a meeting when she was in the pharmaceutical world. And that's actually, she got out of that world because she was realizing she was doing more harm than she was good, even though it was a good recognition kind of stature. But she said she wanted to have a family and not put our kids through daycare. And she typed in 2004, so 20 years ago, she typed in stay-at-home mom, pulled up a crappy website of some woman that had she used to be a waitress, 4 kids, and now she was making like 20, 30K or 50K per month. She's like, if this woman can do it, I can. And my wife jumped in, started buying all the marketing materials, was like Google AdWords. This is before Facebook, YouTube, any of that stuff. But she had a vision and a vow that I'll never put my future children in daycare. And I thought she was absolutely crazy. You know, we just bought $1 million house in San Diego. I'm like, what are you doing? And I was this robotics engineer. Like, this is so un-American. What do you know, like you're doing something work on home online. But that actually changed our whole trajectory of our lives. When and you know, it's crazy, when she got started, she invested like 25K. She didn't tell me anything about it. She just says, don't worry about it. I'm going to work. And she hadn't made any sales. And lo and behold, and this was in the personal development industry. So that was all like woo-woo stuff to me. Yeah. All I knew was like Tony Robbins. This was before the movie The Secret, and, you know, to where it kind of became mainstream. But she was progressing in life of like, wow, she's going after something. I was really just content and being, you know, having an engineering job, robotics engineering, but she had like a $13,000 a month, then a $47,000 a month. And I said, I'm in, whatever I got to do. And the cool thing was about it was that everything is sales and marketing and communication. So I took all the skills that I learned from sales and marketing in my corporate world selling. I sold Elon Musk actuators at SpaceX before anyone knew it was SpaceX. So I was in that world, but I was like, I can translate this back into this world. And then what's interesting, our whole thing was to be able to travel around the world and live anywhere, but it wasn't a reality. But it just, these little steps you start taking right now, even by listening to me and you, there might be people on this call where they'll give them one nugget to take that first step. And what happens is that many people are so afraid to take that first step. And I was so afraid to do that. I actually had to watch my wife do that. And then that's how things transform.
Yeah, but as you know, though, being uncomfortable is your most comfortable spot. Yeah. Because when you're uncomfortable is when you learn and you grow.
Absolutely. And you know, the one of the things that my wife did really well was that she learned branding. And it was interesting, like when you're working with companies, this is in the affiliate marketing world, they're like, don't worry, just brand us. And my wife's like, why would I brand you? It's like, brand me first and foremost, and then you can offer them whatever your offer may be. Let's say you're a coach and you have coaching clients. You got to brand yourself first. So she learned that very quickly. And that's actually how, our branding agency come about is we're already solving problems for, clients. And it's like, well, let's just make this as business. When you're solving your problems, she's like, that becomes your business.
Yeah. But you guys took a turn for the worse after a while though, eh?
Yeah. Yeah. It was back in 2004 when my wife got started. at the same time, we were like, okay, we're going to have kids in a few years. My daughter, she's 17 now, but she was born in 2007. And we started investing, back in the day, like anything you invested in real estate, you thought you were a real estate mogul. So we got our first condo in 2000. Then we got our first $1 million house in 2003. Then we bought a 1.7. Then we started investing 5 houses out in Flagstaff. And the people that we the team that we invested they were basically taking all the money out of the draws for the construction loans and essentially ripped all the funds out and bankrupt about 20 families. And we were like one of the first. I don't know if you remember back in the day right when the financial real estate bubble crisis was happening in 2006, 2007. We were on the loans of Countrywide Mortgage, and that was the first company that went bankrupt, and that just turned the whole tailspin in the USA, and everything was like a domino, like with all the loans where you could not put money down, and it was. So we were in that, and we went from millions to nothing, and that was the pivotal moment of what do we do now? I know your story. So for the people that when I'm sharing this, if you don't know Robert Moore, he's got a documentary, a 90-minute documentary. If you want to have excuses in your life and you want to get rid of them, watch his documentary. So I appreciate you and being able to connect over the last 10 years. And then we got together and started doing some work together during COVID, which has been a beautiful ride. And
one of the first things you said to me is, do you ever sleep?
Yeah. And it comes down to it. It's hard work.
Yeah. Well, when you're in all those hats and everything else in your own business, and you don't want somebody else to do it because you're afraid they're going to screw up, but you're holding yourself back at the same time by doing all those hats. What do you do, right? So now it's basically, I've trusted other people. It's hard to trust other people to do your work.
We were rocking. So when Rhonda started to getting momentum in the business, like we were having like her first big month was 47,000, then it was like 50, and then I joined in. I'm like, when we surpass both of our incomes, I'll come on. And so we were on this like ignorance on fire, right? So we're sharing it, and you start getting the haters. And when we lost everything, it was like putting your tail between your legs. People are like, they're like, even friends and family, no one really knew what we're doing. And it was like, I told you so. And it was interesting. The 4-Hour Work Week was a pivotal book that changed our whole trajectory. And I listened to the book many a times. And when we knew that we're going down, there's a chapter in the book that said the mini retirement, and it's being able to travel anywhere in the world as long as you have a business that's online or is automated or works. You can work anywhere around the world. And I was like, holy shit, this is something that we've always wanted to do, but we could never figure out how to actually do it. And when we're losing, I'm like, well, I said to my wife, I came home, I was listening to that chapter, and I said, what if we just got rid of everything, sold everything? And my daughter's only not even a year old. She's just probably 6 months old, right? Are you kidding me? Like we can't do this. And I was like, okay. And I backed off. And a month later, I'm riding my bike down the boardwalk in San Diego. And for some months later after that, it popped up out of the blue again. And I said, okay, talking to God, talking to the universe, call it whatever you want. I said, I'm listening now. This is the third time. And so I put my computer down when we're going to bed. My daughter's asleep. I put the computer down. I put that chapter on in the book. And I said, honey, I want you to listen to it and don't go to sleep. I'm going to fall asleep. You listen to this and I'll wake up. We'll talk in the morning. I wake up at 2 a.m. She's not in bed. I go downstairs, see where she's at, and she's Googling how to live in Bali or something about Bali. And this is in 2008. And it was June, like right around her birthday. On June 5th, we made a declaration. We saved this bottle of wine, this Opus One, for a special occasion. And we did a video of us opening this wine saying, we're getting rid of all our shit and we're going to travel the world. This video, I don't know, I think it maybe went viral back in the day for what you consider, but we had all the comments, and this is what my wife said, and it's hilarious, and I can see why we had the haters. So this is go back, long story about the haters, is that she goes, we have a bottle of wine, she goes, rather expensive bottle of wine, and we saved this for a moment because we're going to get rid of all of our things and we can travel the world because we have this business. Well, what she didn't say is that we're losing everything and this is also a decision. So we had all these comments of just hate, and we actually had to turn the comments off. It was so bad. But like dealing with it, we had so much like backlash from friends, family, like you're so what's the word? So like you're like your damage you're going to do to your daughter of her not having a home, no family, this no friends, she's going to be a broken child. We received so much flack, and all I could say was like, well, if it doesn't work, and this is what I'm going back to on like when I was talking to you, there might be some nuggets in here to where somebody will listen and go, I'm going to take that first step. You can't just get to somewhere without going through the biggest like assets of my life, or the biggest pivotal moments have came off the worst moments in my life. Mm-hmm. And with your documentary, like you've had many of those, but you've got to just keep on going. So with the hating and the jealousy, it was like, well, we're going to do it anyway. And if it's not right, we'll make course corrections. And most people will just not take that first step because of that fear of, oh, this could go wrong. Of course shit's going to go wrong. It always goes wrong. And it's never, and this was another thing of why we did it. Tim Ferriss in that book, what he said was that there's never a right moment anywhere to make big decisions, starting a business. And most of the biggest companies, they've been started when there was a downturn in this. So there's never a right moment. When you start taking the action, lo and behold, God, the universe, call it whatever you want, starts playing in your favor. It's like, all right, you're taking this action. Let me do this one more thing. But until you take the action, it will never be delivered. And you start getting these like, you start seeing signs of like, all right, let me go this route. Let me do this. And you just take one more step. And you get a little bit more momentum, and then people start seeing it, and then they start helping you out, right? And you start building teams. And so a
lot of people do it the opposite way. Like I was telling you the other day when we were talking, a buddy of mine was waiting for the crowd to grow before he grew. And you know how wrong that is. I mean, where are you going to go? I mean, you can't go nowhere if they're not going to grow. If you grow, you wean out the people that don't need to be there, and you actually attract the people that want to be there.
Yeah. No, and you got to be the person that's doing.
You got to be in charge.
In order to build a community, a tribe, of people that are standing behind you, is you have to lead. And we've been traveling for the last, since my daughter's one, so 16 years. When we got to Bali, it's we lived in 25 different countries, and then this has been our home base since 2015. And people will like, well, hey, it must be nice. I'm like, well, it's not nice. It's just like we've had to go through shit. We've had to get punched in the face, kicked in the balls.
Yeah.
It's like, it's not paradise. You got to do the work. And people see like an end result. But if you went along the journey, you can see what it kind of takes, right? And that's the thing. You got to get up every single day. I'm right there with you.
What year did you get that plaque behind you? The $1 million plaque.
That was 2017. We were, that was our first one. We got like, I didn't even know we had 4 of them until I went back into, I really didn't, I thought we had 3. And then I went back to ClickFunnels up in Boise, one of our our filmmaker, Dan, he's done a lot of our videos. So if you've seen videos over the years of traveling, especially the first 5 years, he traveled with us for 5 years. And
Wasn't he in Hollywood with you just recently?
yeah, no,
Yeah.
like my wife and my daughter were just with him in LA for the last
Yeah.
month. And uh, he was doing such great work. We got the connection with Russell, and he became a partner in ClickFunnels for the last 5 years. And
Nice.
when he was up in, he was living in Boise, I went up and visited, and I went into the ClickFunnels headquarters, and I started going through all of them, and I'm like, oh, here's ours, here's ours. And then I'm like, I didn't even know we had this one. I'm like, we have to get that. So we have these. But this was this was kind of like the signature thing of Freedompreneur Academy when we when we got out of the affiliate marketing of like working with another company. We said, we're going to have our own company, and we're going to show people on what it really takes to be able to create a brand, create funnels, automation, marketing. So that was our Freedompreneur Academy. That was our first signature thing back in 2017. Nice. We started it in 2015. So it took a couple of years to get to the 7 figures on the funnel. This is why you've came to us. You got to have a credible resource, right? And if you know the people, and you're like people that kind of come and go, we've been around for a long time, nearly 20 years into the online world, way before the digital nomads. And you got to have people that you can trust. And so when we started speaking during COVID, like in 2020, you're like, hey, this is where like your story needs to be told. And the Forbes is like, we got to be able to, and it's not anybody can just get in there. We got to be able to get your story, be able to make the pitch, start pitching it to the different ones, and then to get picked up. And so it's the key is you're not just in the reason that Robert, I think he had other publications, but he had such a great story and it was like doing incredible shit with his business that we're able to get him in Forbes relatively quickly versus what most people, but a lot of times you got to build the foundation. And this is like Forbes, Entrepreneur Success, Inc. Those are like tier ones. Those are big ones, but they can't get accepted unless you start building the foundation with like tier twos. And the thing is, they have to be Google indexed. And so what I'm going to share on this is that like there's a DR ranking. So now I'm going to get a little nerdy, right? There's a DR ranking. This is coming from the engineering, just so you can get some context of it, is that on a DR ranking, it's a 0 to 100, 100 being Google. You can't get any higher than the highest search strength place. That's why they call it Google it. But what your DR ranking is, how credible is your website. And so like the tier ones, they have like Forbes is a 94. I think Entrepreneur is a 92. Inc. is somewhere around there. But you still got to start building with ones that have about like a 50 or higher. And the ones that we operate, we're not an agency that just says, hey, pay us 10K per month and we're going to pitch you. We guarantee what we do. And we make sure, so it's like we guarantee that you're going to get published. So the thing is, there's like a lot of agencies that, hey, we can get you in 20 articles, but they're not going anywhere. They have to be able to show up on Google. Do you want me to show you a little bit?
Sure. Perfect.
I show my screen. And when I'm saying Google your name, so I'm just going to I pulled up a few sites. Like, for instance, this is my wife. She's my wife of 26. Well, I've been with her for 26 years. She started by herself on the online. I joined her. We're co-founders into the Unstoppable Branding Agency. And when I say Google your name, this is what I'm talking about. What pops up when you Google your name? So you got Rhonda Swan. This is what they call is kind of like your Google verification. So if you can put it in perspective, they're going to see like next level marketing, and then they're going to mark, or let's say Unstoppable Branding Agency. Well, okay, who's the founder? Okay, it's Rhonda Swan. Okay, shit, this is popping up, right? What's this? The way that it's enabled for you to get a Google Knowledge Panel, get Google verified. So this is kind of like the blue tick per se of Google, is you got to have your news column feed in, and that's what helps create the Google Knowledge Panel. So And there's nothing here that's really sharing a couple images, but there's nothing showing on his. So what you want to do is start filling it in. And what we do is then we start creating, like you can see Robert's Forbes right here. Here's another tier 2. These are clients of ours. So it starts populating up on here. Lawrence is another. And the thing is, Lawrence, man, he has a huge company, like massive. But he came to us because he needed to be able to have the credibility of getting PR in order to build this out. Because before we started working with him, he had nothing on there. Even though he had, I don't know if it was a $30 million business or whatever, but it doesn't matter. People are still going to judge a book by its cover by what you're seeing. Even mine, you can start seeing that. Mine's not as powerful, but we got the Google Knowledge Panel entrepreneur. So that's like some of the main things of being able to use PR to leverage it. And when people are searching, they're going to make decisions on if they fill out your application by Googling. It gives you credibility and it gives you foundation while you're building online. But to go back to our thing, you got to take the first step in everything.
Yeah, people have a hard time with that.
Here's what we've for PR and what we're doing. I wanted to stick just on the PR side of things. Is for Robert and Next Level Coaching, we created something to where pretty much is the building block, the first step in order to get started and start having the Google know who you are. So even if you're just a nobody or has nothing out there, the building block is at least getting 5 to 6 tier 2s. And what we did is we created an offer specifically for Robert and Next Level Coaching. So we created this specifically for Robert on Next Level Coaching.
What a steal.
Well, this is typically it's much more, but we're working with you. And this is the big thing is you got to be able to have referrals and the fact that you've trusted us, you got your Forbes thing. And there's so much PR can be dirty. There's a lot of agencies. We can get you so many articles. But the thing is, if they're not Google indexed properly or Google publications, they're going to sit out there in no man's land and no one will know who you are.
So true.
And that's our branding thing is like you're going to be the world's best kept secret. So what we want to do is make you not the world's best kept secret, but actually having you being able to be shown. So what we did, this is like the starter package just to get your feet wet. And this is where it starts at. We can lead up to Forbes or USA Today Inc. But what we have to do is we have to take the first step and you get your foundation. Once we do this, it's typically, and the reason we put it 6 and not 5 is typically is 6 is when it starts to trigger for the Google Knowledge Panel to start to create it and you can claim it. So this is our package right here, tier 2 feature article, specifically for Next Level Coaching with Robert. So you just got to go through him. He'll send you to us and our team works with you directly. We, our PR staff, we create the angles, the title, and then it gets approved from each one of you. Drifts written, published, and we give you marketing materials too, which is really cool.
Guys, they're right on the ball when they work with you. They're right on the ball.
And you get a one-on-one PR strategy call for the first few months.
You don't have to have your ducks in order to be with them. They'll walk you through everything.
Yeah. No, that's when I first did my entrepreneur thing. Well, I was so scared and stuff, and then they just walked me through it. And I'm like, it's cool. We do the work for you, and we have a team. You'll have your own dedicated PR manager, and they write them. All right, my man. I got 5 minutes before I got to jump on to my next call.
Well, listen, I appreciate your time and say hi to the wife and your child there. Not much of a child no more at 17 years old.
An adult.
All right, Brian, thank you for your time and cheers, brother.
Cheers, brothers.
Well, thanks for tuning in, everybody. I hope to hear from you next week. I'll have another powerful message for you from Robert J. Moore, the Next Level Coaching. Take care.